Hello class. In January of this year, a reality TV couple got divorced. I know, I hope you were sitting down for that news. And it just so happens that this entire decade of their hellish relationship from start to finish was meticulously documented for our own enjoyment and horror in the Bravo reality TV show, Summer House. And as soon as I heard that there was a decade worth of lore for me to look into, I knew I had to start watching. But 2 seasons into my watch, in real time, this show imploded at a magnitude Bravo has not seen since Scandival. Turns out Amanda, that woman I knew who had a mean husband, was not a girl's girl. At this point, I don't even know if she could name 5 girls. Amanda Batula, Kyle's ex-wife, within a month of announcing her divorce to Kyle, was dating her best friend's ex, Kyle's friend, their fellow castmate, Wesley Wilson. This is the kind of stuff that absolutely destroyed your high school friend group, but you cannot even comprehend how hard this has hit a bunch of wealthy reality TV stars all in their 30s. Listen, if I gave you just a short explanation, you're not going to get why this is a big deal. You need and deserve a beautifully crafted presentation explaining why a Haim sister would DIY bedazzle a shirt in honor of Sierra Miller. Turns out it actually was that serious. I'm learning Mandarin right now, and at the beginning of my lessons, my teacher will throw a bunch of Chinese at me that I do not understand. But the beautiful thing is, by the end of the lesson, it all makes sense. And I want you all to have the same experience with all the images above. So first of all, what is Summer House? And why are so many people wearing Martha's Vineyards polos in broad daylight? Summer House, if we're getting real technical, is a spin-off of Vanderpump Rules, which of course, if you're a regular viewer around here, you know the lore about Vanderpump Rules. But really, it is a time where people in these late 20s, early 30s regress to their Greek road days, share a house together on the weekends, fight over who's going to take out the damn trash, party exclusively at Southampton Social. At the beginning of the show, it's about people who work quote-unquote real jobs in New York City and then go to Montauk, black out, and all make out with each other. Obviously, as the show progresses, the real jobs become less and less relevant here. What I really do love about the Summer House itself is that despite the show's popularity and the show being on its 10th season, the house only continues to degrade in quality and break down over the seasons. They did not have a functioning locking door for, I want to say, like 4 seasons straight. Their driveway is always piled high with Amazon boxes of disposable party decor that will be rotting for thousands of years to come. There was one season where they had a zoning issue, and despite having 10 bedrooms in this giant house, they all had to squeeze into 5 bedrooms. Despite the show being completely centered around day parties, they couldn't really have parties beyond the cast and like 5 other people. I kind of get the feeling that Montauk actually hates to see these people coming, but there you go. And I know this entire time I've been talking, you have just been disassociating, staring, trying to unpack, if your eyes do deceive you, at who is that mysterious blonde woman in the top image. And yes, the rumors are true. Erica Kirk did appear on Summer House before she was Erica Kirk. This was in her What She Ordered fish fillet era. She went on one date with the secretly gay Republican guy. Every bit of US culture is somehow captured by Andy Cohen's sick, twisted little mind. Also, I know y'all are sweating because Erica Kirk is here, and like, what is the vibe of this group of white people in Montauk? Surprisingly, very few Republicans in the midst. Most of the conservatives are there for like 1 season, don't really f with anybody, and are never seen again. It could certainly be worse in the world of reality TV. One person you definitely, absolutely do need to know, and will know if you know anything about Summer House, is Kyle Cooke.
Here he goes!
Whether you like Kyle Cooke or not, there simply is no show without Kyle.
Summer should be fun.
He is a philanderer, a drunk, a DJ, but he is also, without question, the heart of the show, a very loyal friend.
I do think it is like an important step, and like,
as we go through this story, I'm going to tell you a lot of Kyle's worst behaviors and worst moments, and you're going to be like, hang on, why do people like him as much as they do? Which is a fair question. I'm not necessarily fully on board this Kyle redemption arc era we're in now. You can understand Kyle. He has the emotional instincts of a toddler. We've all been toddlers once. He wants to be liked. He wants to be loved. He's very emotional, sensitive. He cries basically every other episode, sometimes from joy, sometimes from sadness. And he always gives 110% to all of his failing businesses and failing romantic relationships.
What are you grateful for?
Sharks, friends, family.
Perfect.
I do think that Ryan Gosling's depiction of Ken is just the most accurate synopsis image I can give to you of this man, but at the same time, there's no person quite like Kyle Cooke. Also take note, this is a story that spans over a decade. I am including the ages of people when we initially meet them on the show. I do think you definitely need to know that Kyle is in his mid-40s when all this most recent stuff goes down, okay? Next up, we have Amanda Batula. Which, that's weird. I don't know why it's spelled like that. Amanda Batula for many, many years was the situationship to girlfriend to wife of Kyle Cooke. Because of her proximity to Kyle Cooke, she stumbled into a decades-long reality show career, which I do not think in any other circumstances she would have had. In another life, she would have been married to a sales manager in New Jersey and been a hot mom doing Pilates. Honestly, I find Amanda Batula's complete normalness to be one of her more redeeming qualities. Being interesting in the sense of reality TV is not necessarily something that you want to strive for. A lot of people will compare her to Hailey Bieber, and I do think honestly the Hailey-Justin dynamic is very similar to Amanda and Kyle. She's a clean girl. She likes white t-shirts. When she does the Macarena in the club to a song that is not the Macarena, that is like the craziest thing she's ever done in her life. You cannot take this woman anywhere. Amanda Batula just wants to chill, have a quiet life. Kyle wants to do the complete opposite of that, and for some reason these two thought that they would have a successful relationship.
Summer should be fun. Amanda, not fun.
But before we continue, I want to remind you that summer should be fun. And my friends at Bellesa and I have just the thing for that. Bellesa and I are teaming up to do a massive toy giveaway. Literally everyone who signs up with the link in my description will win a free Rose suction toy. You already know the one I'm talking about. It went viral for a reason. 10 different suction modes, rechargeable, splash proof, silent, but so deadly. What can I say? The little flower is just iconic. Bellesa is a by women for everyone sexual wellness company that focuses on empowering us all to explore our pleasure without shame, weirdness, or stress. They are the #1 most trusted sexual wellness brand for a reason. Their toys are made from medical grade, body safe silicone and come in these super cute charging cases that are discreet, travel friendly, and far better than keeping those toys loose in a drawer. Their warranty is also unmatched. 1 year no hassle replacements plus a 10-year guarantee, which I have never seen with other brands. Their shipping is also so discreet that I genuinely thought my package hadn't arrived when it said it did, and yes. The rumors are true. Bellesa will send you a new one in exchange for a picture of your dog. You have to respect that level of customer loyalty. Now, I can't show you the toys here. YouTube jail is in fact a real thing, but you can see exactly what you'll get once you click the link in my description. Remember, Bellesa will legit send you a free Rose suction toy when you sign up for my giveaway using the link in my description and place an order. So grab yours while you can. Carl Radke honestly won't come up that much in this recap, but he is also a touchstone of Summer House. Listen, if you decide to watch Summer House after this, you're not going to get the song the first time you hear it. You're not even going to get it the first couple times. Carl is going to be a disaster, a mess, a boy on a magnitude that you have never seen. And his ability to rap is severely questionable despite him attempting to do so on multiple occasions.
Let's see what my D can do for the E.
You're really,
so go F,
you're really communicating.
U, and the G.
For the first 2 seasons, he was tangled up with the Workus twins, who, if you can't tell from looking at them, are trust fund MAGA weirdos, who frankly made the first 2 seasons of the show nearly unwatchable for me. As they started to bring in cast members throughout the years, it kind of became a tradition for Carl to make out with each of the new women in the pantry of their kitchen. He was doing that to avoid cameras, but then they added a pantry cam in anticipation of his salacious behavior. Carl nowadays runs marathons and owns a non-alcoholic bar. Throughout the show, we see Carl's battle with his alcoholism, his journey to sobriety. Honestly, the reason that he is not super involved in the modern timeline is because he's too healed to be dealing with all this. Everyone, show your respect to JROTC graduate Lindsay Hubbard, otherwise known as Hub House, Hurricane Hubbard, Activated, Scorned Woman. She is going to wear cropped jorts and a big beige hat like she's going to church on a Sunday, and you're gonna like it. She's a dying breed. She is a woman who I cannot imagine doing any other profession other than being on reality TV. You will absolutely love her and absolutely hate her with equal intensity as you go through this show. Lindsay is frequently wrong, has a history of defending men who do not deserve it, but she has no secrets and no patience for the niceties that hold most of the human species back.
How many sandwiches have you made for me?
Kyle and Lindsay have always had this brother-sister relationship, and they are very, very similar to one another. Carl and Lindsay's relationship, we honestly do not have time for in this moment, but suffice to say they were best friends for many years. Eventually some fingers got involved. There was a whirlwind engagement. It ended in disaster. Lindsay got pregnant within months of their engagement ending with somebody else, and now Lindsay, on the anniversary of their breakup, celebrates it with a freedom dinner, celebrating the day that Carl freed her to live her best life. And part of me still thinks that they're kind of meant for each other. Let me take you back to summer of 2015. 33-year-old Kyle, pre-Bravo fame, meets Amanda Batula, 24-year-old graphic designer. In this one brief instance, they're kind of perfect for each other. I don't know if y'all can do math, but there is a 9-year age gap between these two. Kyle loves that Amanda can wake up with only a mild hangover, isn't quite old enough to expect marriage, engagement, basic decencies you would offer in a romantic relationship to another person. They can just live their non-committal fantasies. They date for 7 months, although I don't know if they necessarily labeled it as dating, because Amanda does say at one point that it took 6 months of them sleeping together before she texted Kyle to let him know that she liked him. But once Kyle learns that he is going to be a Bravo reality TV star, it will shock no one to hear that he does not want to be in a relationship going into his very mild stardom. Summer House has officially begun. Okay, Kyle is wearing a mullet wig, he is making out with his housemates, going on dates with random girls, and then one in the morning will hit. He'll call up Amanda, who just so happens to also be staying in Montauk at a neighboring house, and she will come in and out only through the depths of the night. Kyle, of course, can't commit because he's too busy working on his fitness app startup that does go absolutely nowhere. But through many tears, many fights, many makeouts, and then makeouts with someone else directly after, they begrudgingly become an official couple at the end of the season. And everybody in that house goes, yay! As early as season 1, you will see that these two both have kind of a mean streak. Is one instance where Amanda and another woman on the show are making fun of a woman performing at a party, accusing her of lip syncing, which I hate to say it, I do think Amanda was correct on that one. Kyle, ultimate defender of women. That's one thing you really can't take away from him.
The answer is none of the above.
No, seriously, you're embarrassing. You guys bullshit.
I feel like I deserve so much better than this.
There will be many more episodes like that throughout the course of their relationship, and it will become less and less clear what exactly these two like about each other. Season 2 is their first season as an official couple. According to Kyle and Amanda, their relationship has been great. Kyle doesn't really see her during the week, doesn't want to move in with her, or really progress the relationship in any serious way, but he's turning 35. And you know what happens when men turn 35? They change into the man that you always wanted them to be. Amanda has some unfound confidence that Kyle's Peter Pan frat boy persona was just a phase in his life that he eventually was going to grow out of. Not the case. According to Kyle, this is the first time in their relationship that they're really fighting, because suddenly Amanda doesn't just want to go out to bars, drink till 2 in the morning, rinse and repeat every single weekend. She wants to do things like move in together, talk about the future, absolutely bringing down the vibe of the summer house.
Summer should be fun.
But after an entire summer of fighting, begging, babysitting Kyle when he becomes too drunk and starts arguing with the wall,
You don't know how the water spilled.
Kyle gives Amanda the keys to his apartment and they move in together. Because the show is so long, a lot of people when they first start watching will search, do I really have to watch all 10 seasons to get into the show? The first answer you're going to see is, of course. You think you can just skip this extended personal lore about all of these characters on a reality show? How dare you? But if you ask me, you can kind of skip the first 2 seasons, okay? Watch the first 2 seasons after you're already invested in the show, because to me, season 3, the arrival of the Giggly Squad, is when the show actually really starts to pick up. And maybe it's because the Workus twins are no longer with us. Hannah Berner and Paige DeSorbo, even if you don't watch Summer House, you may already be familiar with them. They are professional bedrotters, the voice of a generation. When they come on, they both worked for Betches Media, which is kind of the evolution of BuzzFeed. So you know these two have written many a listicle. Hannah is a stand-up comedian / woman on the street interviewer person. Hannah, the Summer House character, and Hannah Berner are 2 very different people in my mind, and that is definitely to her benefit. Paige is a fashion influencer, which is something she just makes up because she doesn't know what else to put for her job for her Chiron, and that just just kind of becomes her thing.
She wore shoulder pads to the beach. She knew she was getting proposed to.
But honestly, what do I have to say? Because today I chose a shirt that perfectly matches the color of my hair and just kind of makes me look like I'm one big amorphous blob. These two bring a very important dynamic shift to the group though. Despite Amanda not honestly being that much younger than the other women in the house to this point, Amanda was always sort of the odd person out, and it always felt like Kyle was the only ride or die she had in the house, and even then Kyle wasn't always her ride or die. Throughout all of Summer House, there's kind of been this unspoken war between Lindsay and Amanda.
But don't you get tired of putting makeup on two faces every morning?
Paige and Hannah come in. They're the same age. They don't have this pre-existing loyalty to Kyle that people like Lindsay already have. And most importantly, they are much more invested in their friendship with each other and their icy relationships with the other women in the house than any of their romantic interests. Loverboy is another key character in this arc and will forever haunt the narrative of Amanda and Kyle. In 2018, Kyle started his hard tea business, sort of in the peak of White Claw popularity. Amanda is the creative director, and her involvement in the company is still kind of a mystery to me. Initially, she's only working part-time because she's still working a full-time job as a graphic designer for another company. Eventually, she becomes the full-time creative director, and a frequent complaint from Kyle will be that she does not put enough effort into the company. There's a month where she doesn't post on social media. He complains that she sleeps into the afternoon on work days. Despite herself being a graphic designer, the graphic design of Loverboy is outsourced to another company, and unfortunately that company got them straight into a trademark lawsuit. Loverboy is absolutely Kyle's passion project, and he is a very hard worker, and that's just not Amanda's thing. She wants to clock in, clock out. But despite Kyle's very frequent complaints about Amanda's work ethic and her not having the same level of investment in his passion project that of course he does, he will also say that she is quintessential to Loverboy. Loverboy would be nothing without her. That may sound like it makes no sense, but honestly he is not wrong. When they were initially developing their first flavors, she was the one who suggested that the hard teas be carbonated, which is just objectively correct. She also was the one who pitched and helped make the limoncello and espresso martini flavors, which are far and away the two most successful flavors of the brand. And you know what, Amanda? I gotta hand it to you. These were delicious. Also, these were shipped to me and they did not have any sort of protective packaging, so the limoncello cans I got were very dented on the bottom. Kyle, let's work on that. Let's put some packing peanuts in maybe the next box. Honestly, I did not want to like Loverboy. But honestly, it's pretty good. And also I actually like the packaging design. So there you go. Season 3 is such a pivotal point in Kyle and Amanda's relationship because this is also when the 17-page email gets released. Amanda wasn't particularly close with anybody in the house, but she also wasn't actively beefing with any of them either. For reasons unclear, Lindsay and Danielle, who is another cast member we don't have time for, started posting pictures of the three of them and then strategically cropping out Amanda of those pictures, or posting pictures and tagging everybody except for Amanda, which Lindsay will later say it was because she didn't want to encourage the relationship of Kyle and Amanda, and it was for Amanda that she was icing Amanda out of the house. I don't know if the math totally checks out on that one. Kyle sends out a 17-page email to the entire cast of Summer House in an enraged defense of Amanda's honor. This email alone is proof positive that Kyle would go on to cheat on Amanda. Unfortunately, the full 17-page email has never been released. I'm sure it's lost media at this point, but we do get a few select quotes from this email. Several of you have cropped her out of photos, purposely didn't tag her, or just straight up unfollowed her. I mean, is that really necessary? Amanda has a badass job with title and responsibility. Where was that recognition on Lindsay's January 24 Boss Babes post? I'll still follow you on Instagram just to be a nice guy because I'm a nice guy. Some people even call me fun. You can send me a lengthy response if you choose. The only thing I want is for someone interested in trying to salvage our friendships to take some time to self-reflect. This is a man compensating for something, and that something is Kyle cheated on Amanda. Trust me, you will not forget that happened. Honestly, the story of his cheating is deeply concerning for a number of reasons outside of, I think, their own romantic relationship. At some point in the fall after filming season 2, Kyle got blackout drunk with a group of guys, including Everett, who was a former cast member from season 1 of Summer House, and the next morning he woke up in the bed having slept slept with a total stranger, which is just a very scary situation to find yourself in. And instead of coming forward and communicating that to Amanda, he keeps it to himself for 7 whole months. Presumably he was going to keep this a secret forever. Everett, who was with him that night, either tells Amanda or tells a bunch of other people, and it gets to Amanda that this happened. So coming into season 3 of the show, Amanda just found out that he cheated 2 months prior to the summer, but he cheated 9 months prior to that. 2 months after Amanda has found out this information, she naturally still has many, many feelings about this and has a lot of trust issues and gets very upset when she sees that he will continue to get belligerently and blackout drunk, because that was the exact scenario that led him to cheat on her months prior. Really, Kyle's behavior, keeping it a secret for as long as he did, oftentimes being very, very defensive when the subject is brought up, minimizing it, and then continuing to engage in behavior that not only endangered their relationship, but honestly just endangers his safety. Amanda had every right to feel very concerned. She would have at this point been very justified in leaving the relationship. Pretty quickly, you realize that Kyle has no intentions of meaningfully changes his behaviors. He still likes to party. He likes to go out. He senses resentment from Amanda. He relies more and more on alcohol as a coping mechanism, which is also not great. And they will just be stuck in this vicious cycle for over a decade.
I want to have fun with you.
Just because you cheated on me, Kyle. I do have resentment towards you.
I am sorry I cheated on you.
I can't definitively say if someone cheats on you, if you should immediately break up with that person. In theory, and depending on the people, relationships can come back from that. A big part of that would come from Kyle changing his behavior. And at a certain point, Amanda would have to forgive him and stop bringing it up in completely unrelated situations.
He's done a lot in order to accommodate his lifestyle and be a part of his company.
I mean, he f***ing cheated on me and I took him back. And it's like, let's talk about that.
Again, not to say that Amanda doesn't have a right to feel resentful that this happened. She absolutely does. But we will be talking about this incident that happened in 2016 in 2026 as a significant factor in the downfall of their relationship.
Were you acting out when you cheated on me?
I was almost 10 years younger and scared.
Yeah, and nothing's changed.
Their relationship basically stops progressing from this point emotionally, even though they will continue to invest more and more time and themselves into this very doomed scenario. Don't ask me why. Kyle's mind works in mysterious ways, but 2 months after Amanda found out that he cheated, he is making plans to propose. When he asks for Amanda's dad's blessing, her dad just kind of goes, I mean, I can't stop you, I guess. Beautiful, beautiful love story. It's all going so great until Lindsay Hubbard hears that in April of this year, one of her friends saw Kyle making out with a girl in a club. Again, the really concerning thing is that Kyle remembers going out in April, remembers him and Amanda being in a rough patch at that point, but he cannot say definitively whether that happened or not because he was drinking very, very heavily and does not have memory of several nights from around that time. Kyle is upset because this totally ruins the vibe of his proposal that he was planning, to which Vanderpump Rules' Stassi Schroeder says, then maybe don't get engaged. Maybe this is like the outcome, the natural outcome of your actions, and maybe we shouldn't be continuing this. Doesn't get through to him. So he goes to Amanda while she's just trying to get a tan at the pool and says, so, you know, there's this rumor, I hate to bring the vibes down, but there's this rumor that I made out with a girl in a club, and it's just a rumor, okay? And I'm pretty sure that it didn't happen. Amanda goes, you're pretty sure? Oh my God, you're freaking out over a rumor. Oh my God. Just because I can't definitively say, now you're upset again. I've been really good about being monogamous. I haven't even hit on a girl in months.
I haven't hit on a single chick for the first time in my life in multiple months.
To which Amanda points out that they have been in an exclusive relationship for the past 3 years at this point. But don't worry, Kyle DMs the girl he supposedly made out with, and she says that that didn't happen, and that's all the validation they need to move forward in their relationship. Oh my God, it is like watching a horror movie. They will go through all of this, and then at the end of the season, at the reunion, Andy Cohen will be like, wow, so there's these cheating rumors. You got into these terrible drunken arguments basically every weekend. You seem deeply unhappy and do not trust each other at all. And isn't it so beautiful that you guys are still trying to make it work? Kyle especially, but both of them never really have their feet held to the fire. Their relationship will continue to be romanticized by the show, despite it being so deeply unhealthy. But in the fan spaces, of course, the public is very much against this relationship, which unfortunately has sort of the opposite effect of bringing them together into this sunk cost fallacy. And and this is the ultimate outcome of that. Initially, Kyle, Paige, and Hannah all got on fine, but there starts to be some building beef. One night, Kyle is talking about all of these plans he's making for their wedding. He wants to not have a seating chart, which is just objectively insane. Paige and Hannah are just kind of giggling under their breath in a squad formation.
She's actually talking to you, and you're like hanging out with the giggly squad.
This leads to their branding, which is a beautiful moment. But Kyle begins to sense that Amanda is becoming closer to these two, and these two don't necessarily outwardly hate their relationship, but it's also certainly not a ringing endorsement. Amanda begins to feel more comfortable in the house because she finally has a place where she's not the odd one out. She will frequently take the side of her friends over Kyle because oftentimes Kyle is being a menace, and it was deserved. Amanda will hear rumors that Kyle has cheated, which will kind of become like the Bigfoot sighting of the other seasons. There is always a rumor that Kyle has cheated again, although no one to this point has ever produced a photo or video or sold their story to TMZ. Like, no one specific has come forward. But because these rumors are always going around, Amanda's mind is going to go back to the one time Kyle definitively did cheat. But she honestly doesn't even have that much time to focus on that because Hannah is in a rotted situationship with new cast member Luke, who has such a thick Michigan accent that I did think that he was Irish when he first came on the show.
We do an impression of you. Hey, Sarah, let's go rock climbing.
Friendly conversation.
Friendly? Rock climbing friendly?
I'm gonna take a rock climbing.
You're not rock climbing with her.
These two are another nightmare dynamic we don't really have time to get into, but watch Summer House, okay? Now Amanda is full-time with Loverboy. She lives with Kyle. They work out of their apartment, and they're planning a wedding. We once again see that Kyle and Amanda have very, very incompatible ways that they live life. Kyle likes things to be clean. He likes to work 70 hours a week and then crash at a fan's apartment at 2 a.m. Whereas Amanda wants to sleep in, chill, do other things in their life. This is where I relate to Kyle the most. I personally am also a neurotic freak and would not be able to date somebody who didn't like to put dishes away, but at the same time, no one forced these two to be together. Kyle will have these few moments of lucidity where he asks, I think, very valid questions.
Fixated on trying to improve our communication.
All right, but it's such, when you...
But he asks them in, I think, the meanest way possible, so there's never a discussion.
Lonely as being married to you because you don't talk to me. What the is wrong with you?
Kyle feels stressed out because Amanda isn't really helping with the wedding planning, isn't helping with Loverboy. Amanda said that she wants to buy a house, that she wants to settle down, have family, have a dog. Kyle is like, how are we supposed to be able to do all of these things when we have invested all of our money into this company? You don't seem particularly interested in helping get it off the ground so that we can have the money to do all of those things. And also, those things are a lot of responsibilities. If what we're doing now, like planning a wedding, feels like too much, how would you expect to handle all of life with kids and a dog and all of these things, right? Amanda, in response to this, says, okay, yeah, well, I guess I'm just like a lazy piece of I guess I'm just lazy. I guess I'm just terrible. I don't know. The conversation goes nowhere and they continue living in the cycle. Also, because Amanda is finally comfortable in the house, we do start seeing a little bit more of Amanda's personality.
Hannah and I, we had a very rough start to the summer just because of who I knew. Hannah tried to Jordan. Finally,
we start seeing that Amanda and Kyle honestly have more similarities than you would initially think. Summer House is a very hard show to introduce new cast members because the premise of the show really is tied around this very real friend group. Paige and Hannah were able to break through, but a lot of cast members like Jules from season 4 couldn't really connect with the group, and because of it were frequently iced out by people in the house, including Amanda. For example, in a game of Truth or Dare, Amanda says that of everyone in the house, she would not save Jules from a fire, which is like a terrible question to begin with. But her logic is she would not save Jules from a fire because Jules is in a terrible situationship with Republican cast member Jordan, and she's like, I don't really trust Jordan, so I don't get why you would associate with him.
If you trust a liar, are you a liar?
Jules in response is like, okay, well, aren't you dating Kyle? And isn't Kyle terrible? So like, what do you have to say about that?
It's very different.
Amanda just gets agitated at things very easily. When Kyle bothers her, she'll sort of smack him on the arm.
Oh my.
There's one incident in another season where Kyle is out at a bar until 3 a.m. and she breaks all of his stuff and then throws his luggage out onto the lawn. Dude. Oftentimes when they have conversations, she will walk away and there won't really be any meaningful resolution.
I'm sorry I hit your foot.
Why you apologize for something?
What?
Kyle, do you not know we have a problem?
What's the problem?
I don't want to talk about it while we're here.
You kind of get to see that Amanda does not have great conflict resolution styles or communication either. And there is this one really strange moment that I honestly cannot even fully capture where Amanda is telling a story to the group. She gets annoyed that Luke and Hannah ruin her joke. It's probably fair to say because of the stress of her relationship with Kyle. She responds to this by going into the kitchen and breaking a bunch of stuff and throwing cans everywhere.
He's the
So by the end of season 4, both Amanda and Kyle seem deeply on edge with one another. Would you be surprised? Their relationship does not look so great. Season 5 is one of the strangest seasons, not only of Summer House, but I think of reality TV, period, because it happened in 2020. So instead of their normal format of commuting from the city to the Summer House only for the weekends, this group spends an entire 6 weeks together in a quarantine bubble during the most stressful summer, I think, of most people's lives. It is perhaps the worst time for someone new to come into the cast. But this is when we meet Sierra Miller, who is unquestionably my favorite person in all of Summer House.
Gay, straight, they, them, what the ever. Everybody loves tits.
She is smart, she's funny, she has a depth and vulnerability to her. She is very open about her low contact to no contact relationship with her parents. She also, as I said, has the misfortune of coming in quite literally during the most loaded time you could possibly come into Summer House as a registered nurse, as a Black woman, the first Black cast member in the summer of 2020 on this very white show set in the Hamptons. I think for that reason, Sierra is pretty reserved in her first season. She comes in initially because she was dating Luke, but basically immediately distances herself from him because Luke was in a messy situation with Hannah. Sierra was not interested in being in the middle of their drama. But then as we get into the later seasons, as she gets more comfortable, you do realize that she is just a star. A themed party hates to see this woman coming.
You haven't seen the best part.
Oh, Jesus.
I cannot.
Bam!
Just imagine the beauty of people getting into drunken arguments and Sierra is there comforting them in a full Na'vi face paint and bodysuit. I think it's also worth mentioning that when Sierra comes in, she is the youngest in the house by a couple of years, and it definitely shows in her early seasons. This season is actually one of the strongest for Kyle and Amanda, and it is simply because they can't plan a wedding. Loverboy stocks are through the roof because they're an alcohol company in the year 2020. And most importantly, in season 5, they were in lockdown, so they couldn't go anywhere. Now, at the beginning of season 5, Kyle did say that he wouldn't wish lockdown on any couple, so they were not having a great time. But I do think it gave Amanda this false sense of security that he wasn't going to be going out and partying because he physically could not at the time. Also, Kyle and Amanda bond over their shared beef with Hannah Berner. Another situation we don't necessarily have the time to get into, but Hannah Berner was having, I think, the worst summer of her life, and it was definitely to the point where it was affecting the overall vibe of the house.
You sitting there like my dad.
I feel like I'm a little bit of the scapegoat, but that's fine. You bring up
Nope,
your
you're not
dad
a
in the same
scapegoat.
breath as me.
Please never talk about my family again. Never bring up my dad again.
Rather than confront why that may be the case, Hannah and Kyle really start going at it.
You're a 39-year-old man.
38.
Grow the
38.
up, bro.
Hannah's ultimate takedown will always be, remember when you cheated on Amanda? Kyle, are you gonna yell at me? Are you gonna yell at me the way you yell at Amanda? Which is obviously a trigger point for both Kyle and Amanda. They at one point have such a heated argument over Hannah not taking out the trash that all three of them stand up and Amanda throws a glass in Hannah's direction.
I'm so sick of your bullshit.
Nothing like shared hatred of a woman in crisis to bring people together, I guess. So Kyle and Amanda have a fake wedding before their real wedding. They're happy and nothing is going to take them down. On top of watching Summer House, you can't just watch Summer House. You also have to watch all 3 seasons of Winter House, which is what it sounds like, a winter version of the Summer House concept, except it is also a crossover with the Vanderpump cast in 1 season and the Southern Charm cast in 2 of the seasons. And it is also, unfortunately, where Sierra first starts talking to Austin, a man from Southern Charm. And I refuse to watch Southern Charm or really know an extended amount of his lore, but he's no good. He's bad news, he's non-committal, and will most definitely drag down Ciara. But the crazy thing is, Winter House is only, I think, 2 weeks long. And in that 2-week period, Amanda kind of gets the sense that Austin isn't all that their relationship isn't really going anywhere. I mean, yeah. Amanda says, well, Ciara's my best friend, and I'm going to protect Ciara's little heart.
We must protect Ciara's precious little heart.
And I'm not going to let some philanderer guy who just wants to party and drink mess with my friend. And no, there are absolutely no parallels to my own relationship with Kyle that may be making this a sensitive touch point for me. Amanda really does not get into a ton of fights in the show. Amanda is overwhelmingly a very quiet person on both Winter House and Summer House, but this is, I think, the angriest we ever see her is her defending Ciara from Austin, who is a man that Ciara at this point has only known for about 10 days.
God, you're a piece
Oh my God.
But you know what? Amanda cares about Ciara, and she's going to support Ciara forever and always.
Amanda's my friend, and she's gonna go hard for me. And if there's something that she knows is gonna upset me, of course she's gonna tell me.
Season 6, when Amanda and Kyle get married, is basically like that one scene from Interstellar. We start to learn a little bit more about Amanda's family situation, including that she has a trust fund from her grandparents with an unspecified amount in it. To this point, Amanda has not taken care of her finances herself as a 26-year-old, and her dad has to sit down with Kyle and explain all of Amanda's accounts to him because Kyle, as the new man in charge of her life, will be in charge of managing that. But honestly, Amanda not even knowing half the accounts that she has is such a blip in the lead up to their marriage, because Kyle, would you believe, he's still going out, he's still drinking, staying out until 3 or 4 in the morning, getting into a fight with Amanda the next day, doing it once again the next weekend, with, cannot stress this enough, no signs of stopping. And honestly, on Kyle's end, it doesn't even seem like he's really promising for that to change. But according to Amanda, Kyle signed a post-it note with her parents. If Amanda called off the wedding, Kyle would be responsible for paying back her parents. And I think their wedding cost maybe $200,000. And it was in Amanda's parents' backyard, so I don't even know how that happens. This is another point in the relationship where Kyle is certainly a terrible, terrible partner. Not someone I would want to date, not somebody I would want one of my friends to be dating. But it's also, we're 6 seasons in and it's not a secret that he is this way. And I do just want to make it clear that if you are at the point where your significant other has to sign a post-it note agreement with your parents not to be a terrible husband, this probably just is not going to be a successful relationship. And Kyle is not under any illusion that their relationship is great either. There are a couple times where he suggests that him and Amanda go to couples therapy. He raises concerns about them having fundamentally different lifestyles and how they can manage a dog and a kids and like living their lives with them being so incompatible and having so many problems, which again would be a valid point if Kyle would just, do the one thing that Amanda and her parents have been asking, which is just stop going out until insane hours of the night and getting belligerently drunk. That certainly is a much more upfront and visible issue with their relationship that is never really addressed. There are multiple episodes where Amanda is in tears, in distress, because she's so bothered by Kyle's continued drinking and her trust issues around the time that he cheated. And I think like any friend would do in this situation, Paige reminds Amanda that you do not have to go through with this, that she doesn't want to see Amanda be so unhappy, and canceling a wedding is nothing compared to a marriage of deep unhappiness. But it never really seemed like Amanda seriously contemplated calling off the wedding or leaving Kyle. She still wants this relationship to work, somehow thinks that this relationship is going to change. Then we get into this storyline, and I do have to believe that it's a storyline because 2 months prior to their official wedding, Kyle seemingly for the first time brings up the notion that they should have a prenup, considering he is the sole owner of a relatively new startup that is $4.2 million in debt, where he is personally liable for that debt, which by the way, he did not clear with Amanda before taking out that loan. Their financial situation is crazy. The way they operate completely independently and make insane decisions is a sight to behold. This is another thing that is really distressing to see because one, Kyle is in a lot of debt, but also Amanda has her trust fund. She presumably has a significant inheritance from her family. She makes far more just posting on Instagram than he currently does with Loverboy, which after overexpanding during COVID is really starting to flounder. Amanda seems to think that Loverboy is going to take off, like really take off, and that by offering this prenup, Kyle is trying to cheat her out of getting ownership in Loverboy and out of her being able to get half of what he will have in the future, which again speaks to like a fundamental distrust in their relationship that she automatically assumes that he is trying to her over with a legal document that in most cases really can benefit both parties and does not have to be a nefarious thing or something only associated with divorce either. Amanda doesn't really want to have the conversation at all, and in fact says that she's not going to talk to a lawyer, she's not going to look into it, she's not going to Google it. She needs Kyle to specifically break down why it would be beneficial to her for her to do it, which it's Kyle. Kyle is not capable of explaining that, and so they just don't get a prenup. Fortunately, from the sounds of it, they never commingled their finances, so from the looks of it right now, Kyle would not have any access to Amanda's family money, and Amanda would not be on the hook for Kyle's loan, but we shall see how the divorce proceedings play out in the future. Speaking of the prenup, there actually is an unaired scene from In the City that was only in the trailer where Amanda says, "We don't have a prenup, so if you try to come for me, I'll come for you." To which Kyle says, "I wouldn't do that." And she responds, "Is that a threat?" You know, after she just said that she'll come for him. Leading up to their wedding, they both get COVID, which in 2021 is incredibly high stakes. They are in tears, stressed. They don't have a florist 1 month before the wedding. Really, if they can make this work, they can make anything work, right? So what's Ciara up to while all of this mess is happening? Well, season 6 was really not Ciara's best season, not the greatest time in her life. After Winter House, Ciara and Austin continued to date, but not officially date, kind of go back and forth. Lindsay, because she has been in the Bravo sphere for a very long time, also had a situationship with Austin on and off for years. And Lindsay will say, "Yeah, it's crazy. Austin and I just have this connection. Like, even when we're both in relationships, our partners get insanely jealous. But me and this guy, Austin, this is the guy that they're fighting over. You know, we just can't deny the spark between the two." Austin goes to the summer house for Lindsay's birthday. This little menace makes out with Ciara and Lindsay at the same party. Lindsay, presumably because she's no stranger to mess and is just older, knows that Austin is playing her, that he's not commitment material, but at the same time doesn't necessarily empathize with how that may impact Ciara, who at this point does have real feelings for Austin. And, you know, call Ciara crazy, doesn't really want to see Austin making out with Ciara's housemate and Ciara at the same time. In what could have been a beautiful moment where Ciara and Lindsay came together and said, "Oh my God, this guy, what a loser." With his little scarves and his pastel button up. Let's just make out us two. Unfortunately, not what happens, and Ciara is very resentful of Lindsay and her involvement in the Austin situation, which does devolve into Ciara throwing a glass of red wine at Lindsay's friend Danielle. That's especially not a great look because Danielle is saying exactly that they shouldn't be mad at each other, that they should be mad at Austin. Ciara does apologize and make up with Lindsay and Danielle, but her and Lindsay will continue to have a standoffish relationship for several seasons. But the thing is, once they become friends, it's so beautiful because everybody needs an insane friend like Lindsay, okay? It's gonna take several years for her to be on your side, but once you're there, it's a beautiful thing. This Austin, Ciara, Lindsay thing honestly drags out for far too long again for a man who is leagues below both of these women. Kyle and Amanda managed to go an entire season without really fighting with each other, and isn't that so beautiful? Because they've gone one summer without really fighting, Amanda decides that it's time for her to go off hormonal birth control, which, oh my God. Except Amanda notices that she loses a lot of weight in this time and doesn't have her period in over a year. When Ciara hears about this, as a nurse especially, is immediately concerned for Amanda's health. All right, we've gone long enough without talking about this bozo. His hair only looked like this for like one day in the season, but this was like his first appearance in the show. Wesley Wilson. Honestly, you have never met a man so whittle. And I don't just say that because he's on the shorter side. I really do mean that in the sense that his energy is always, it's crazy. I'm just here. I'm with all these beautiful women, and I know I'm not as like hot and sexy as like some of the other guys around. Did I mention that my mom is a gynecologist doctor and makes more money than my dad? I also have Black friends. So I'm kind of like uniquely empathetic to the world around me in a really beautiful way. And yet somehow, for some reason, I cannot form actual deep connections with any woman in my life since high school.
If you are seeing someone, you are gonna marry them and live with them forever, or there's a super sad day that happens, and both of those are scary.
What's worse, his track record with women or his insistence on trying to make this basketball preppy fusion style happen? Listen, we knew this guy was bad news the second he said that he was an unemployed sports journalist. Like, if a man could happily fit in and desire to fit in at Barstool Sports, you know to run for the hills. Also, Wes Wilson, as someone going to PT for this exact issue, my back does hurt every time I see this man. I just want to like... Which honestly, his posture is another part of like the little guy energy that he has, because I know he's taking several inches off his natural height when he stands like that. We are introduced to West in season 8 of the show. At this point, Sierra has been on for 3 years, so she is a fully established cast member on the show. But also Kyle, Carl, and Lindsay are in their 40s. They're settling down a little bit more. Well, Kyle, that is a relative term. But I do think that there was this plan in motion to introduce newer cast members of the show who vaguely resembled young Kyle and young Carl, with West being the new version of Kyle 2.0. He's the life of the party. Everyone likes him except for his ex-girlfriend kind of vibe. And his Carl is Jesse Solomon. Jesse Solomon makes Christian rock adjacent music. It is beautifully inoffensive and honestly fits in pretty well with where we are with male pop stars.
Guess I'll start being me.
Actually, initially, West and Jesse don't really get along because West, you'll notice, is very obsessed with his perception on the show. He very much felt like he was supposed to be like the dorky, quiet guy to the handsome boy that everybody loves, Jesse. Felt like he was in a competition with Jesse and was losing. Which I don't know if that feeling necessarily goes away, but they do become very close friends in spite of that. Season 8, Kyle and Amanda, the honeymoon is over. We are now openly, passive-aggressively fighting with one another at the dinner table.
I'm going to murder you in your sleep tonight. You have no idea.
Amanda, it's funny. Will you relax?
All right.
Well, everyone just kind of awkwardly stands around like, can I eat my pasta salad now? Returning to Amanda's fertility issues, Sierra discovers that Amanda still has not gone to the doctor to get this figured out. Sierra ends up becoming like the liaison between Kyle and Amanda and is like, Kyle, did you know that she hasn't had her period in this long? And Kyle's like, oh, no, because we don't have a relationship where we talk to each other. That's actually crazy. Sierra, Paige, and Amanda all go to the fertility doctor. Luckily for Amanda, there are no serious concerns for her. Her results come back normal. She starts some antidepressants, starts working on her health more, and feels really great about that. Sierra, in that same appointment, learns that she is more likely to go into menopause early and may have fewer eggs than average for her age, which is a heavy thing to discover on a reality TV show where you were just going to help your friend. Beyond that, Sierra and Paige really want to help Amanda find an identity outside of just being Kyle's wife and lover boy. Picture this, Amanda. What if you partnered with a pre-established swimsuit company, slapped your label on it, and became the boss babe of your dreams? Amanda approaches Kyle and she says, listen, I don't even have to leave Loverboy, even though I really don't do that much at Loverboy at this point. I just want to, you know, have a goal to work for that's outside of us and our relationship, which is by and far the most mild request Amanda has made, I think, in their entire relationship. She says, listen, I quit my job to work with you, but Loverboy is your dream. Loverboy Kyle. Amanda, not Loverboy. Amanda want other things. I spent years helping you achieve your dreams, and I just want to achieve my own. And Kyle's like, okay, well, I haven't achieved my dreams yet, so actually you can't go. Kyle has dreams too. He wants to be a DJ, okay? You don't see him becoming a DJ anytime soon. He does become a DJ immediately after this season. But you know what? Amanda gets to make those damn swimsuits, and they are not available for purchase anymore for reasons we will get into. Let's really get into what starts the true chain of events. Sierra has always been kind of shy and reserved in the house, and especially after her relationship with Austin, where he just did her dirty and kind of embarrassed her on reality TV. She is very hesitant to open up to people, but immediately her and West catch a vibe, and you know, they'll get drunk and make mac and cheese together, and sometimes, you know, West will sit on her lap because that's how this man flirts, okay?
Living in this house with someone that you're kind of like vibing with, like you're getting to know each other on a different level before it gets like about the other
but immediately there is trouble afoot. Ciara does not want their relationship to get physical for a multitude of reasons, including that she often feels like that's all that men are interested in, that she doesn't want to get too emotionally invested in something that may not go anywhere. And she just met this man, okay? She's still trying to figure out why he constantly dresses like Fred from Scooby-Doo. But it's also very obvious that Ciara has some real romantic feelings for him. There are a couple instances where she accidentally refers to him as her boyfriend. You can see that she's talking about the future, that she's very giddy around him. Ciara and West are talking about her meeting his family and eventually moving forward to a real relationship. But West says, well, how am I supposed to be in an exclusive relationship with somebody who I'm not already sleeping with? You think you're going to get a title before you get physical with me? That is not how West Wilson operates.
I didn't come to this house to be celibate for the whole summer. Which I like that
Because they're not physical and because there's not a label, West continues to talk to other women, which Ciara knows about, but does not necessarily know the extent to which that is going on. There's this scene on a boat where Paige is talking to West and she says, listen, Ciara really likes you. She's really serious about you. I hear that you're talking to other girls. Are you sleeping with these girls? Are you going on a lot of dates with these girls? How serious is this with other people? And West is like, I don't know. West lies to Paige, tells her that he's not sleeping with any of these women, that none of it is that serious. From Ciara's perspective, this looks like it's moving towards something.
I would take you home for Thanksgiving if it was tomorrow. I could see you as my girlfriend. Obviously not tomorrow.
She even asks him multiple times off camera if he feels ready for a relationship, and if he's not interested in one, they should not be together. But West insists that he wants to continue carrying on. First of all, a moment for Ciara's revenge dress, which is unfortunately one of a few revenge dresses Ciara will have to wear. West is, for a reality TV star, incredibly bad at doing reality TV. And that's for a couple of reasons. West is a self-described people pleaser, which I think in a lot of circumstances is just another word for saying he will tell people what they want to hear, irrespective of the actual truth of the situation. Because West so wants to be seen as like the nice guy on reality TV, once the cameras go down, it's kind of a different story. Ciara catches on that West is sleeping with other women and seemingly is in a lot of one-way monogamous relationships with a lot of women around New York City. And at the same time that that is happening, Ciara has a falling out with her mom, which leads to her going to Costa Rica, talking to a psychic, and kind of going AFK for a full 2 weeks. And when Ciara comes back, it is suddenly West who is going no contact, leading up to the reunion where people ask, hey, what was all that? Can you like describe things with words? Because this is, you know, kind of like the point of what a reunion is. And West quite literally has nothing to say for himself and also seems to have no emotions. Whereas Ciara is speaking of this relationship as if West and Ciara had this deep connection, which despite them never having the title of boyfriend and girlfriend, it did seem like that was the case. They were confiding in each other about things nobody else knew. They were hanging out every single day. West was promising that things would be moving towards something real at some point. Everything except West being monogamous and them having the title, they were operating as if they were boyfriend and girlfriend, right? West does not come out of this reunion looking great. The really sick, twisted, evil thing is that because he doesn't treat Ciara nice and doesn't come across like a nice guy, the fans don't really like West that much, which is really tragic, you know, because he's such a nice guy. Because this really slows down his ability to make paid club appearances, then sleep with any fan he can have access to.
I've done a couple watch parties where fucking people show up and do whatever, and pictures, and it's the Bravo fan base is all women.
Too many temptations.
So in a desperate attempt to save his image, he talks to the New York Times without talking to Ciara prior to or really even after this conversation, in which he says, among other things, that one reason for breaking up with Ciara, which he admitted was narcissistic, was that they were often referred to on social media as Ciara and the newbie guy. He worried that he would come off as a dude who came onto the show and is just Ciara's puppet the whole time. As far as what he said directly to the New York Times, he honestly didn't say much, but he does say, I don't think we were meant to be together. That's it. I think me trying to deflect the actual relationship and name all of those external things really made me sound like an idiot. But I still stand on the decision I made. I think our relationship ran its course. I hope that decision doesn't haunt me forever, even though I still think it's the right one. Which, in fairness to West, is certainly not the most damning thing that he could have said. I think Ciara more so took offense that he could say these things to a publication like the New York Times and still not say them directly to her. Even though West will never articulate it in his own words. It is evident from his behavior and his responses to Ciara that he does feel openly resentful that Ciara was seen as more popular than him, and that emotion only gets worse when he becomes the villain side character in Ciara's story, which his ego cannot handle. Ciara, like any scorned woman on a Peacock reality TV show, heads off to pretend to live in a castle with Tom Sandoval, and may I just say was done so dirty by the cast on that show. Ciara is a faithful, and the reason Ciara gets voted out is because there's a point on the show where the traitors have to put people in coffins, because this is a pretend show, right? Where they're pretending to murder people, but they're not. Alan goes, Ciara, do you have any words for the traitors for putting you in this coffin? And Ciara, because she likes whimsy and fun, is like, just know that I'm coming for you. To which everyone in this overwhelmingly white castle, might I add, says, I don't know, Ciara, that was kind of crazy that you said that, and maybe you're a traitor. But this is also an important time frame to note, because Amanda and Ciara have been close friends for several seasons at this point, right? And it's not just a friendship that exists in this summer. They hang out outside of that filming space, right? And despite that, her and West still become very close, and we start seeing more of them hanging out together at the club. He is the one who filmed that infamous Macarena video. Among other things, Amanda and West will pre-game his dates with other women. When Ciara comes back from Scotland, Amanda will kind of be like, oh my God, I see both sides. I just wish these two beautiful people could get along. Supposedly, her loyalty is still more towards Ciara, but she definitely still has, I think, an unearned appreciation for West Wilson. Oh my God, season 9 West is so irritating because Ciara is upset, right? Ciara didn't like how West treated her, and because of that, doesn't want to just like be best friends and hang out all the time and act like nothing happened and like drunkenly flirt and eat mac and cheese together anymore. They have this one confrontation the first night at dinner where Ciara is like, so you had a lot to say about our relationship in the New York Times. Do you have anything to say to me right here, right now that I'm actually in front of you? To which West does not.
I think that was such a beta-ass move.
Okay. We can have a conversation if you want to.
We are having a conversation.
This is the only real confrontation they have that summer, and for the rest of it, they kind of just like exist together. There are even instances where they are having fun together. This is not like a house divided sort of situation, but the entire summer you will just hear West and his friend Jesse being like, oh my God, Ciara, just get over it so that I can be the nice boy who's friends with Ciara. Ciara's so mean to me because when I said where my hug at, she didn't give me a hug. Oh my God.
I'm not here to tell anyone how to like feel, but I know I'm not like some evil dude who like tried to like ruin Ciara's life.
Season 9 is actually a pretty good season for Kyle. Like he's actually for once not fighting with all of the women and shows things like empathy and understanding at rare times. Not all the time, of course. This is still Kyle. Somehow I completely missed that in season 9, actually, Amanda said that she had one foot out the door and was on the brink of divorcing Kyle. See, that was just kind of every day, so it kind of blends together for me. But in season 9, they both spoke about wanting kids, but not wanting kids with each other, which again is probably a sign that they should have broken up years ago. I'm also pretty sure Kyle called Amanda the B word that season. He did that a couple of times, so it could be any of them really. So I don't know where I hallucinated that they were doing better in this season. Oh, Tom Schwartz. The Vanderpump cast visits the summer house a couple times in the show. The first time Tom visited, he was still married to Katie and he left early because his butthole was bleeding. Besides the point. Second time, Tom is like, oh my God, you guys treasure this bond that you have, Ciara, Paige, Amanda, this whole house. It's so beautiful how you're all friends. At this point, Scandival has happened. The whole Vanderpump cast hates each other. And Tom said, we used to say that we'd be friends forever. And now look at us. Paige says, what are you talking about? We are going to be friends forever. And in fact, the only thing that could destroy this summer house is if Amanda cheated on Kyle, which would never happen. That's crazy. January 19th, 2026, Amanda and Kyle announced their breakup, to which I think the collective reaction from the general audiences is, oh my God, Amanda is free. Thank God these two are no longer together. At this point, the public doesn't know why they broke up. They give this pretty generic statement, but Amanda will later say that their relationship was on the rocks and truly ended on New Year's because guess what Kyle did? He went out and partied on New Year's, can you believe? And interestingly, some fans have noted, some people, the FBI agents of Reddit have noticed that from this New Year's post West Wilson's, you can see this scarf in the foreground, which bears striking similarities to the scarf Amanda is wearing. But honestly, you don't even have to look that hard because the hat Amanda is wearing in this post is West's. February 2026, Amanda's stock is up. She seems happy, healthy. She goes on Watch What Happens Live with her friend Ciara. When asked who will be the first to move on from their relationship, Kyle or Amanda, she says, I mean, I think me? Maybe? People also ask her in interviews if she would ever date anyone in Summer House or anybody else in the Bravo sphere now that she's single, to which Amanda very adamantly says, no way, those people are like my family. I would never do that. That's not my intent at all. And you would, I don't know, think, but kind of hope that after such a long, deeply unhealthy relationship that Amanda would be taking this time for herself. That's not quite what happens in this Marie Claire interview when asked what Amanda wants for herself now that she's single. She says that she wants a younger man. Most critically, in this Marie Claire interview, when asked about how she's been getting through this moment in her life, she says it would have been a very difficult summer to get through without Ciara. She is one of the kindest, most loving, loyal friends I've ever had. She sends me texts out of the blue, reminds me how strong, powerful, smart, and kind I am. I don't think she even realizes how much I need those texts. It's also meant so much to me how supportive West has been throughout the season, sometimes in ways I wasn't even aware of when filming. It's not performative. It's just really authentic to who West is. He checks Kyle and puts him in his place, and you'll continue to see him be there for me throughout the season.
This makes me so happy right now. This is my dream.
Mine too.
That Marie Claire interview gets posted early March where she's singing West and Ciara's praises. Almost immediately, stories begin to get out about West and Amanda possibly hooking up. And it's crazy because if you look at Reddit comments on that speculation from that time, literally every single comment is, this can't be true. I mean, maybe West would do that, but I could never see Amanda doing that to Ciara. Like, that just doesn't make sense. This is a crazy, crazy rumor. At this point, there's no hard proof that anything is happening. The only real thing people can point to is that West and Amanda are going out a lot, and Amanda is hanging out with a lot of West's friends, which previously Amanda did not like to go out and drink at all, so that's already a little bit weird. But I think the more logical explanation at the time is like, well, maybe she's seeing one of West's friends, or maybe West and Amanda just became close friends all of a sudden, who knows? Rihanna Chicken Fry will later come forward and say that at the Super Bowl which West attended with Ciara, Rihanna was under the impression that West was dating Amanda, which would have been, importantly, in February. Rihanna doesn't come out with this information for a few more months, but people in their immediate circle are picking up on a possible West-Amanda relationship. On March 6th of 2026, Deuxmoi posts a blind item suggesting that Amanda and West have been seen around town holding hands under the table. By March 24th, these rumors are everywhere. West goes on Watch What Happens Live. Andy asks, hey, any truth to these relationship rumors with you and Amanda? And again, no one really believes these rumors to this point, but West's answer kind of makes people second guess themselves.
You were just hanging out.
Yeah, we were just hanging out in New York. But if it's not clear, that's a very important person to me, and I, care about her a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amanda? That's my friend. Amanda's my friend, for sure. Nothing's going on here. West also looks visibly displeased when Andy runs a poll and the audience overwhelmingly votes that they would not like to see West and Amanda be a couple. The people have spoken and they do not endorse this even rumored relationship. There was actually another reason why West may have been denying the rumors about him and Amanda on Watch What Happens Live. That reason being he was in a completely different, previously unknown relationship with Mija Moreno. He actually mentions her by name in the Watch What Happens Live interview because she is the one responsible for creating this horsehair tie. Of course, West and Mija were hanging out the night before Watch What Happens Live. She needed to give him the tie, and also they needed to spend the night together. Like, is that so crazy? When asked about this relationship, West will say that they were not boyfriend and girlfriend, but she was under the impression that they were monogamous. Now, why would Mija be under that impression? Well, he would do things like take her out to meet his family. He gave her flowers on Valentine's Day, but that actually wasn't meant to be a romantic gesture because he actually gave flowers out to so many other people. He gave flowers out to everybody in New York City on Valentine's Day, so get off his back.
Like, I kind of slutted out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, so this is like you not really knowing the definition of love.
Do you think you only send flowers to people who you, are in love with?
On Valentine's Day, of course.
Mija and West were actually sleeping together all the way back in 2024. And they actually showed deleted scenes from, I think, season 9, where Jesse would ask West how Miha was doing. Into filming season 10, which was summer of 2025, they were definitely in a one-way monogamous relationship. But West told Miha that he could not come forward publicly with their relationship because his Bravo contract said that he couldn't have a relationship with somebody who wasn't on the show. Never mind the countless people who have had relationships with non-Bravo people on the show. I don't think he necessarily explained it as a contract issue, to be fair, but I think he, being again someone very focused on his perception and his storyline in the show, felt as if him and his back and forth will they won't they with Sierra was his ticket to continuing on the show. And if he was in a relationship with somebody else, the show wouldn't be interested in keeping him on. Sierra is a popular, well-liked, well-respected person within Summer House, separate from her romantic relationships with anybody, West included, whereas West constantly lives in the shadows and is very openly bitter about that fact. Of course, their social media gets put under an insane microscope the second West and Amanda do confirm their relationship. At the time that these things were posted, no one was really putting any emotional significance to any of this, but there are some interesting posts in retrospect, which I think some of them, but probably not all of them, do begin to feel like breadcrumbing or hinting at their relationship without actively confirming it. The first post people will point to is this picture of Amanda on June 5th of 2025, where her Instagram caption says, "Broke my wedding vows," and the song she chooses to go with the post is "Sue Me" by Audrey Hobart. For the record, the wedding vow Amanda is referring to is she vowed to wear mascara more often because Kyle really likes mascara, whatever. But interestingly, right around when this post was made was when the first blind item came out hinting at Amanda and West having some secret affair. West also will post an Instagram carousel later in the year featuring Amanda, and the music he chooses for that post is "My Ex's Best Friend." Generally, you're seeing Amanda and West hanging out constantly, going out together in the background of other people's social media posts or in their own carousels. She also, once she announces that she's single, begins posting a lot of vague text messages from an unidentified person. She seems to be sort of soft launching some sort of relationship. Amanda is posting West a lot. She's also posting Sierra a lot. This picture of Sierra, Amanda, and West is posted by West, and in the comments of this picture, Amanda said, "If you're a bird, I'm a bird," which is a comment she has since deleted. At the end of March, all hell breaks loose. West and Amanda confirm their relationship. Seemingly, this statement is very long, but it's also a whole lot of nothing. Respect their privacy, and this is very new, and we see the ongoing speculation. Absent from this statement is any sort of acknowledgement towards Sierra or Kyle, or even really an explicit confirmation that they are dating. Instantly, the Summer House universe timeline is flooded with subtweets, shade via cat Instagram posts. Lindsay Hubbard is giving play-by-play commentary on every aspect of West and Amanda's relationship as more and more comes out. She's really like boots on the ground investigative journalism in that way. And what's most devastating is that West and Amanda made this statement the same day Jesse Solomon announced his first music tour. Of course, everyone's immediate question is, how's Kyle? What does Kyle have to say about this? Did he know that this was happening? So Kyle calls the paparazzi on himself and gives a beautiful street interview.
It's just a lot to take in.
I get
it. It's not just me, Amanda, Wes here. It's like our whole friend group. I mean, Carl's a mess.
The second that this happened, Loverboy, this floundering business, sold out everywhere, and Kyle, ever the businessman, launches his own Carl's a Mess merch, which is way on back order. Could not try to get it if I tried. And he releases this merch first in partnership, proceeds going to a nonprofit supporting those going through substance use disorders, and Kyle later partners with a charity of Sierra's choice in the second stock of Carl's a Mess. Sierra also raises thousands of dollars for Girl Scout Troop 6000, which is the Girl Scout troop for unhoused young girls in New York City. Honestly, the one silver lining of this whole situation, there was a lot of money donated to charity in the wake of this crisis, where Carl was in fact a mess. And I know what you've all been waiting to ask. What is Zohran Mamdani's plan for Scamanda, the summer house crisis. New York City has simply never faced such rippling, devastating effects, such as this relationship drama exclusively involving New York City transplants. You'll be happy to know he's Team Ciara, and first and foremost respects her service as a nurse. Rest easy, New Yorkers, he is on the case. For a moment, but honestly not that long of a moment, Amanda is really nowhere to be seen, but she then makes a post reminding people that even if you see her laughing, giggling, having fun, getting drinks, going to Yankees games, going to random weddings with West Wilson, she is taking this whole thing very seriously. Has she spoken to Ciara or apologized to Ciara? She can't answer that, okay? She's focused on her mental health. Pretty quickly after this, West goes to a Yankees game, and he was initially supposed to go with KJ, who is another cast member on season 10 of Summer House. KJ, no longer liking West, feeling betrayed by West, doesn't want to go. He takes Amanda to the Yankees game, where they are seen on the Jumbotron kissing, and Amanda can be seen whispering to West, "Act like you like me." Every weekend, West Wilson is invited to another wedding where Amanda will be wearing this cursed bun ponytail look, which will become her signature style in the wake of the scandal. But before we continue to go forward, we have to go back. So when West and Amanda confirmed their relationship, season 10 of the show had already started airing, which means there were episodes of the show edited with one storyline in mind, which in the later half of the season gets dramatically re-edited to include more scenes of West and Amanda. The original storyline of this season, not just made by producers by the way, but very much made by West, was his attempt to win Ciara back in a friendship. But also maybe if they made out while they were drunk a couple times, he wouldn't be mad at that. Not boyfriend, girlfriend, absolutely not. He does want Ciara to stop being mad at him, that's for sure. He's determined on that. Season 10 is such a strange and fascinating season of the show, especially knowing that the vibes of this house and the show as a whole will never quite be the same, because the foundational relationships of this show have been Kyle and Amanda, Amanda and Ciara, Ciara and West. If I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on for a second here, I truly believe that Amanda had full intentions of leaving Kyle after this season of Summer House and was preparing herself for an it girl arc, finally leaving this man who truly had done her dirty for many, many years. Amanda to this point had never gotten the villain edit, was very much seen as a victim in Kyle's relationship, which in a lot of ways she definitely was. For that reason, I think Amanda felt very comfortable outwardly complaining about Kyle and their relationship, because I think she was anticipating the audience being on her side.
I might be in my no patience era for Kyle specifically. It's kind of like what I'm stuck with. He decided that he wanted to be a DJ to spite me, and then
That
he
is
became
an amazing
a DJ.
summary of events.
Tell me where I went wrong. Kyle, stop.
Ignore Kyle because Kyle is trash.
There's a reason that I come back to the house every year, and it is to spend time with people other than Kyle.
That's not fair,
Don't
though.
make me get mad at you.
You're telling me...
You want to fight with me right now? I'll fight with you.
I've been showing up with a smile on my face every weekend, being like the joyful, bubbly Amanda.
For the most part, the complaints Kyle and Amanda have about each other are basically the same, although interestingly, with Kyle being a DJ, he has chosen perhaps the one career that involves him going out to a club, drinking a lot. Well, that's not necessary, but that's certainly how Kyle enjoys that career, which is the exact trust issue that Amanda has always had from 10 years ago, right? I to this day am baffled by Amanda and Kyle's financial dynamic, because Kyle is always stressing about debt and working himself to the grave because of this debt. And Amanda just sort of operates as if that isn't something that impacts her in a way that I just don't understand how that works. By this point, these were two roommates who hated each other.
So now she's actually just not listening.
Guys, I'm so jealous. It literally it takes over my whole body.
What?
Did you say jealous?
No, I was just saying you weren't listening.
It's funny because if the West and Amanda stuff hadn't happened, this would have been Kyle's ultimate villain season.
You're driving me to the drink. Hey, maybe get some curiosity, drive, personality.
Creed,
I'm f***ing losing my mind. I'll smack tables all the f*** I want. You, Carl. Me? Yes.
You dumbass bitch.
And it's important to note that Kyle was acting this way before knowing or really having any reason to suspect that West and Amanda were a thing, okay? So what we're not gonna do is retroactively defend his behavior this summer, because it's pretty heinous. The thing Kyle keeps saying is he genuinely doesn't feel like Amanda likes him.
Ignore Kyle because Kyle is
trash.
or is invested in their relationship. He says that he'll be on trips for days at a time, and then when he comes back, Amanda seemingly doesn't care or doesn't talk to him, doesn't ask him questions. Importantly, he noticed that Amanda will not text him back personally, but if they're in a group chat with Wes, she will respond. Supposedly they haven't been physical in years, which is interesting because they did have a pregnancy scare plotline like 3 years prior to this. The timelines on that don't really make sense, but whatever. Kyle is very clearly burnt out from dealing with this emotional resentment from Amanda, but Kyle also has terrible coping mechanisms, and the way he deals with it is he just makes it a problem for everybody else and is incredibly mean.
Everyone, I'm so sick and tired of normalizing how much I deal with.
Kyle, I deal with some too.
So even though you can kind of understand his logic, there's not really a defense to his behavior. In a total Kyle move, he sees that Amanda is out having fun with her friends, West included, who she's sitting next to. Kyle brings out his speaker next to her. He's wearing this big Burger King crown, and he just starts dancing to his own DJ set, which no one else is looking at. And because no one is paying attention to him, Kyle walks over to Amanda and says, "F you," and just keeps walking.
Kyle!
Dumbass bitch.
Yeah, Kyle is not a great husband. I don't know if you noticed that. Everybody can see that he is not a great husband. They're all a little bit sick of it. Lindsay and Kyle get into it at the dinner table because Kyle is thinking about becoming a DJ in Vegas with a residency. And Lindsay's like, well, did you clear that with Amanda? You should be clearing that with Amanda. And Kyle's like, oh my God, I'm about to be bankrupt in like 2 days and I can't pay our bills. And Amanda hasn't paid rent in months, which again, Kyle does have a point somewhere in there, way overridden by his behavior. And you can see in this conversation, Amanda is making facial expressions I did not know were humanly possible, but she is like actively cackling at Lindsay fighting on her behalf against Kyle. It then turns on Carl, Kyle's best friend for a decade, where Kyle says, "You 6'5" motherfucker," as if that's the greatest burn he can come up with. Kyle is having outburst after outburst every single day.
Carl, stop being a Vagisil!
And there are moments where Amanda gets emotional and reacts because this is a horrible way for her husband to behave. But a lot more times you see that she's honestly numb to it and will just sort of look around at Sierra, at West, at the other cast members she's with, and she's like, you see what I deal with? This guy sucks. My husband sucks. Which is true. In previous seasons, I don't even know if I noticed that West and Amanda had a relationship, that they had any sort of friendship to speak of. But in this season, he goes from being completely non-confrontational to a fault to anytime Kyle and Amanda are getting into it, West is suddenly pulling up a chair, getting in the middle, becoming Amanda's knight in shining armor in every single fight. The one big crash out Kyle has where no one will dance with him at 2 a.m. and he says, you to Amanda. West chases Amanda into the bathroom and whispers, I love you, I'm here for you. But what people also notice is that West and Amanda are oddly physical for two people who are friends where one of them is married. And at the time, no one really notices this or makes a big deal out of it because Amanda being in a relationship with Kyle, no one would assume that there was anything there between them. People do speculate whether West and Amanda had some sort of relationship at this point in the summer. Physically, I don't think that was a thing, but certainly their level of intimacy in this season kind of does suggest an emotional affair.
One more. Oh my God, you're no, Sarah, stop.
No, sorry.
Oh my God.
But I can also kind of believe that West sensed that Amanda was having this big season. This was her season. And he became close to Amanda as a way to have a storyline that didn't involve Sierra for once in his goddamn life. And then feelings developed and they got in too deep. I think another reason why West and Amanda's weird physicality doesn't really get clocked in the house is because everybody in this house is weirdly physically comfortable with each other and flirts with each other when they're drunk and have this understanding that it doesn't actually really mean anything. That couldn't be more true for Jesse and Sierra. Jesse and Sierra have a strange relationship because they are overall friends, but there will be points where Jesse will be like, if I'd gotten to you before West did, would you have gone for it? Maybe we could have hooked up, maybe. And then he'll turn around and be like, oh my God, that was a joke, Sierra. God, you're obsessed. I said that on camera. So there's this weird moment where Jesse drunkenly asks Wes if he can make out with Sierra. Not that night, but at some point in the future. West is like, that's a weird question to ask. Jesse takes this wishy-washy response and is like, great, I have permission to make out with Sierra. I'm gonna actually tell a bunch of people in the house actually that I want to make out with Sierra and I asked permission to do so, all before I talk to Sierra, which will definitely make her feel like some sort of object. who cares? So when Sierra hears about this, she is genuinely really hurt for a couple of reasons. But I think first and foremost, she is used to having guy friends who only see her as some sort of conquest and then will move on from her afterwards. Sierra expresses this in a pretty calm way, honestly, and Jesse kind of has nothing to say in response to that. Then Jesse, for a time, joins the camp with West of like, oh my God, Sierra's so mean to me. She won't be friends with me just because I tell everybody that I'm gonna make out with her, even though she does not want to make out with me. Like, oh my God. And to make the situation just so much worse, Sierra has decided that she's kind of put Wes in the doghouse for a summer. She doesn't want to hold on to the grudge. It's like too much energy to hold on to at this point. She doesn't really know if her and Wes are going to be friends, and they're definitely not going to be anything romantic. But you know what? She'll just like not actively hate him, which West is happy about on one hand because he doesn't want to be hated by Sierra, but he's also upset because he wants to basically just go back to how things were in season 8 where, you know, they could make out and be drunk with no consequences, but also not have any sort of actual ties to each other when they're sober. West says so many contradictory things about Sierra and his intentions with Sierra during the summer. At one point, he has a conversation with Ben where he reminisces about his romantic relationship with Sierra and is like, oh my God, yeah, I that up. Our time together was magical, but also I don't want to be her boyfriend. I don't want anybody to think I'm her boyfriend. Why can't we just be friends? Why can't I just make out with a girl on my lap right next to Sierra at a party and then pass out on the pool deck afterwards without her getting upset? Sierra is kind of holding him at arm's length for her own protection, but she's also doing a bad job at doing that because it is very evident that she still does have romantic feelings for him and does care about him. And what is Amanda going to do during all this? But she is going to protect her best friend Sierra's little heart, which is a phrase she explicitly uses. When West starts making out with a girl, quite literally right next to Sierra, Amanda goes to confront West. And what I mean by that is that she sits directly next to West and this random girl that he brought and just starts talking to them like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? How are the vibes?
Am I crashing your party?
No, absolutely not.
I think I am. I gotta go. Watch my butt when I walk away.
Anytime that West talks about speaking to another girl or maybe bringing another girl to a party, Amanda's like, huh, what's that about? It's one of those things in retrospect where you can't necessarily tell if she is asking these questions and making things awkward to protect Sierra or if it's out of her own jealousy because they have a romantic relationship or she feels romantic feelings for West. It's strange. Paige left Summer House in season 9 and Paige really was previously like the glue between Sierra and Amanda. Now that it's just these two, you've seen Sierra and Amanda really lean on each other in a way that they hadn't in previous seasons. So what you really see is Sierra building Amanda up, trying to give her the courage to leave this relationship that Sierra sees is hurting her friend.
I'm proud of you. Thank you. You're special. You're so beautiful. And you're important. Your voice matters.
And on the other hand, you see Amanda looking out for Sierra. When West is acting like a fool, Amanda is the first to say something about it.
To watch you disrespect Sierra in that way, it just like puts this weird like dynamic in place.
Tell whoever that is. Sup?
I don't trust anyone with her heart. I would die for that girl. The way I'd cut West off in 1 second if she looked at me.
Another part of what made season 10 of Summer House so compelling is this is the first time, not that there were multiple Black people in the house, there were 3 Black cast members at the same time previously, but this is the first time that there are 3 Black cast members who are all close with each other, rely on each other, can really connect with each other, again, in a very white space. KJ and Mia are also just great new cast members in their own right. One night the cast is all out to dinner. Sierra starts to explain to Kyle, Amanda, West that Sierra does not have the relationship with Bravo fans that they do simply by nature of her being a Black woman.
I get a lot of blowback that's like very racial, obviously being in this position.
And on top of being the first Black cast member, Sierra especially experienced a lot of racially motivated attacks stemming from her relationships with Austin and this narrative form that Sierra was constantly being made a fool of by white men.
And then dating publicly, dating white guys publicly, it's like a whole contraption that I don't think you guys even understand or can even empathize with.
After this very vulnerable conversation where Sierra, KJ, and Mia explain that they all have to operate differently in a way that none of the white cast members can understand, they need to take precautions to not come across a certain way because they know the perception and the standard that they are held to is very different from someone like Kyle who can have crash out after crash out after crash out and still be one of the most beloved people in the franchise. West's response to all of this is, you know what? This reminds me of when no one liked me at at the reunion, and I got so many comments calling me racist.
Yeah, selfishly, when the reunion happened, whatever, like I was getting smoked, I was being called like racist.
I don't like Wes Wilson. Regardless, West and Sierra reignite their friendship, situationship. They have this private conversation where they basically air out everything that they haven't been willing to say these past 2 summers since their breakup. One thing that they both talk about is how their relationship is so affected by the fans and the cameras and this pressure for them to look a certain way. Finally, West admits to Sierra that part of the reason why he spoke to the New York Times, why he iced her out in the downfall of their romantic relationship, was because he felt he was getting so attacked by the Bravo fans that he just associated that attack with Sierra herself. But they're both willing to put that aside. They're starting a new leaf. They're going to be friends.
I know it's been tough, but like at the end of the day, I know he respects you.
Maybe when they're drunk, they might have a makeout session, which West will later claim to have no memory of.
It was like ear stuff.
Ear stuff? Is that what you said?
I believe so.
You guys did ear stuff.
Anything else happen besides ear stuff?
What the fuck is ear stuff?
Season 10 ends with West and Sierra making out. But before we can even get to the reunion, portions of the reunion itself leak online where Amanda does not look good. And I really say Amanda not because West looks like some great person or he gets a pass in this. West, as usual, just isn't talking. One of the things that was cut from the actual reunion but is in this audio recording is, I think, an important bit of the timeline. Amanda went out to brunch with Kyle, West, basically the whole Summer House gang, after her and Kyle were separated. They are still legally married, but they were officially separated at this point. At this brunch, Amanda makes out with Kyle as a joke and then leaves with West. Later that night is when West for the first time says, "Am I crazy or is there a vibe between us two?" And they make out in public in the bar, which seemingly is not seen by anybody, which is kind of crazy. Andy Cohen has yet to reveal how this is the case, but just so you know, the way they end up catching the person who leaked the Bravo audio is Jennifer Lawrence. Criminal investigator Jennifer Lawrence. Isn't that beautiful? The reunion filmed for like 8+ hours. The edited version that we see is 3 hours. In some ways you learn a lot of new information, but in other ways you really do not. To add chaos to this day, West's nudes leaked just before the reunion started filming. So it's safe to say that West was experiencing, I think, the worst 24 hours of his life. West will not speak a lot during this reunion and will admit later to being on beta blockers, which do numb your physical responses to stress, not necessarily your emotions per se. There's speculation as to whether him and Amanda were on something stronger, but honestly, that whole part of it really is not interesting to me. I think part of why people harp on that aspect of Amanda and West is because they do act very strangely in this reunion, and you would not know from watching this reunion alone that Amanda and Kyle were married for a decade, that Kyle and West were friends, which is a part of it that kind of gets left out because let's be real, Kyle is not necessarily the hero branded victim in this story either. And you would certainly not know that Amanda and West were two of Sierra's best friends.
But then why were you responding to her?
Oh my God, guess what? I had an awakening. I was living on my own. I separated from my ex.
Because Amanda will openly scoff at Sierra when Sierra points out that Amanda explicitly lied to her when she asked directly about the West situation prior to it becoming public, when she mentions how Amanda did not address Sierra or Kyle publicly and has not really been in communication with them since, and just generally doesn't feel like these are two people who ever cared about Sierra at all.
I'm prepared to take accountability, apologize, especially to Sierra and Kyle.
I'm glad she could say her name, right?
Amanda and West finally established their timeline in which they say that they kissed in late February. That's when they became a thing, which importantly was after the Super Bowl instance where Brianna Chicken Fry seemed to think that they were already a thing, and also after Sierra saw Amanda at West's apartment on Find My Friends in January. To make things even more complicated, Sierra reveals that her and West hooked up multiple times in the fall after season 10 as well. The timeline and the degree of overlap is very muddy, and it does seem purposely that way because the more specific it gets, honestly, the worse it looks. But no matter what, Amanda and West insist that they did not start their relationship until late February and were only physically intimate after they released that very poorly written statement, which Amanda will later joke was written by ChatGPT. So to be clear, West and Amanda started seeing each other in February. He hooked up with Miha drama towards the end of March. They say they only came out with the statement because someone took a video of West and Amanda canoodling in his apartment, which West to this day has not seen.
I felt embarrassed to have to say I have feelings and have kissed Wes and he's seeing someone else. I felt embarrassed having to say that to Sierra.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
I think I need to take a break for a second.
There are the blind items going back to June 2025 about whether Wes and Amanda had feelings for each other then. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that they did have, at a minimum, something emotional going on prior to February. But honestly, I don't even think that the late February timeline makes them look that much better, because with that understanding that they magically developed feelings only in late February, that means that West and Amanda were willing to blow up their friend group, betray their best friend Sierra, who they deeply care about, and Kyle, all for like a 6-week situationship where Wes still had a one-sided girlfriend for part of it. Like, that's crazy. There's just not a scenario where they come off looking great. But once again, I don't know if you forgot, Kyle did cheat on Amanda a decade ago. So in that sense, didn't he have it coming? When they were still married, Amanda always, of course, publicly denied rumors that Kyle was cheating, although she did say that she would often get DMs saying that he was inappropriate, but it was never confirmation. It was always like a friend of a friend, never a video, never a person actually claiming to have an affair with him, nothing definitive. Amanda actually says kind of contradictory things about her evidence of Kyle cheating over the years. In her Marie Claire interview in March of this year, she said that she had never seen anything directly, but around that same time she was filming in the city, and in the city she claims that there is a video of Kyle cheating on her. And I think the video she might be referring to is this video of Kyle talking to a woman in Charleston. The angle and the camera quality is terrible, so it's kind of hard to, again, say anything definitive about what this video is. It's just so hard to find anything related to this video again because it's just so buried under the more recent Summer House stuff. For what it's worth, this is the only public evidence of Kyle cheating that I could find. But she, to this day, believes that Kyle was unfaithful in their relationship after they were married, which, do I think that that's possible? Sure. I also think it's crazy that there's no documented evidence of that. Kyle affirmatively denies making out with anybody or doing anything physically beyond that while Kyle and Amanda were married. But he does vaguely say that there have been times where he's been out and been inappropriate. And I guess we just have to figure out what that means. And he ends his confession in classic Kyle fashion by saying, "Have I been completely starved and deprived of anything and everything from you? Yeah, and I've acted out." That is the most heat that Kyle will ever direct at Amanda. Otherwise, he maintains that he still cares for and is deeply concerned for Amanda and this relationship with West. What does Lindsay have to do with all this? You know, not much, but she does love a branding opportunity. As soon as Kyle utters the words, "Carl's a mess," Lindsay unblocks her ex-fiance Carl on Instagram so that they can do the Uber Eats brand deal of a lifetime. And you know what? I kind of loved it. Amanda, though, she would never do a brand deal about someone's breakup, much less her own.
There's been a lot of changes this year, but I'm finally ready to let loose, meet new people. I mean, what could go wrong? The Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 6. 2 entrees, 2 sides, and 2 drinks. It's the perfect meal for 2. Or for 1.
I also completely forgot because I kind of assumed that this is just made up pretense for casting on the show. But Lindsay claims that she met West and was the reason that West got on the show in the first place. His betrayal is actually, if you think about it, a betrayal of her as well. It's Lindsay, and people are understandably frustrated with both Amanda and West, so things get heated, which ultimately leads to Amanda crying, running off the stage, and West just continuing to sit there because, you know, what if Andy has more questions to ask him?
West, you're gonna go after her?
I didn't know if the questions were gonna come back to me.
After your fucking girl.
We're not gonna
Get up
both
and
leave.
go after her, West.
I would go after her to make sure she's okay.
Okay.
It is only after Lindsay yells at West to get up and check on his girlfriend, and Kyle says, "I mean, if you're not going to do it, I guess I'm going to go help her," that West actually goes to talk to Amanda, who is crying in her dressing room. And supposedly this interrupts filming for over an hour. One thing I think it's clear that West and Amanda didn't anticipate is just how much this scandal would impact people besides Sierra and Kyle, because both KJ and Jesse, who were West's friends prior to this all happening, do feel like they also got over and brought into this scandal where suddenly they're all being accused also of being enablers. Jesse, especially as West's best friend on the show, is constantly getting accused of knowing more about the affair than he claims to. Jesse comes prepared with his own timeline, which he does not get the time to go into on the reunion, and so he just posted on Threads later. Jesse noticed that West and Amanda were hanging out with each other, and they were doing things like going out to get cocktails and dinners and explicitly telling Jesse that he couldn't go or not inviting Jesse. Also, Jesse directly asked West if these rumors were true, which West would repeatedly deny up until coming out with the statement. Truly, this reunion goes on for eons. It's such a disorganized mess, and we really only get a few little confirmations of things, but you do get to see Amanda and West picking fights with each other under their breath. Sierra apologizes to Kyle for not understanding how he was acting in season 10, which I don't know if that was an apology that Kyle necessarily earned. Given how many outbursts Kyle had in season 10, I think if he came in swinging for Amanda, it honestly would have been a really bad look. Who knows if this is PR, if this is genuine, but Kyle says that he believes that Amanda was in such a low mental state after leaving this relationship. West took advantage of her weak moment, which is now ruining her life, which may be true, but also Amanda is an adult who made her own decisions. So Sierra, you may have lost a best friend, but you got Dancing with the Stars and get to host Love Island's After Sun. So in the end, it all works out, right? Oh, but we're not done. As if there weren't enough spin-offs of Summer House. So they have Summer House where they film in the summer. They have Winter House where they film in the winter. They've now launched In the City, which documents all of the older couples living their lives in between the summer and the winter. This show is terrible. Please don't watch this show. I actually had to skip through everything besides the Amanda, Kyle, and Lindsay scenes. And honestly, the Amanda, Kyle scenes were painful to watch anyways, because it's honestly a lot more of the same dynamic where they just hate each other.
I'm like sweating. I need to go.
You're wearing a coat in summer.
It's not a raincoat.
Regardless, some crazy things do come out. Amanda asked Kyle to move out on their 4th wedding anniversary, which is in October of 2025. The very next day, Amanda and West had dinner together. Now, importantly, this is not the end of their relationship, right? Because Amanda broke the relationship off on New Year's Day. This is not them being separated. This is just them creating separation.
The whole idea of the separation is to like...
Well, we're not separating.
Sorry, creating the separation.
Yes.
That being said, though, Amanda has to get a year-long lease because she couldn't find a month-to-month furnished apartment. So she ends up getting a year-long lease in an unfurnished apartment. But they're not separating, and she's totally committed to working on the marriage. There's more scenes of her hanging out with West and Sierra, her besties, which feel really strange in retrospect. She even suggests that her and Kyle go on a double date with West and Sally. Now Sally and Kyle are rumored to be hooking up, so that's like a whole mess itself. I don't want to watch the second season of In the City. I'm good. Because the reunion was pretty bad and West and Amanda didn't really say a lot during the reunion, they basically do a reunion 2.0, except it's just one-on-one conversations so that West and Amanda will feel more comfortable speaking. West has a conversation with Kyle, Amanda has a conversation with Lindsay, and Sierra and Miha are basically just out to brunch talking shit about West, which is great. Biggest betrayal, the biggest revelation of the aftermath. Kyle invites Wes over to him and Amanda's apartment. Amanda has since moved out, but this was Amanda's home for many years. Importantly, their dog, Reese, does not like strange men, does not warm up to strangers easily. As far as Kyle knows, Wes has never been to this apartment, has never met Reese. However, Reese's reaction to West when West comes in paints a very different story.
Good icebreaker.
It's so weird because she obviously knows you.
Honestly, the idea that Wes secretly was at their place when Kyle wasn't there and hanging out with Kyle's dog, that is like a deeper betrayal than I think anything else he's done. Amanda and Lindsay have an interesting conversation because this is only a few weeks after the reunion was filmed. It's May 2026. Her and West are still in a very new relationship. Lindsay is kind of setting Amanda up with a bunch of softball questions where she's like, so did you come on to West or did he come on to you? Amanda, I don't know if you know, but this guy is bad news. He's making you look like a fool and you need to ditch this guy as soon as you can. Initially, it kind of does seem like Amanda is contemplating her relationship with West, which again is just interesting because they are, as of when I'm recording this anyways, still together. Ultimately, Lindsay asks the real question that I think everybody at that time had, which is, Amanda, can you see how bad the situation is that Kyle Cook looks like the scorned victim of your relationship? Famously, world's worst husband is having the PR run of his life right now because of how reckless you and West acted.
I just feel like really stupid.
To be honest, you should feel stupid.
Honestly, I go back and forth about Miha because she absolutely was done dirty by Wes. It's kind of unclear how much she knew about Ciara and Wes' involvement. How much she herself was aware of the overlap is kind of a question that nobody can answer. So where does that leave us today? Wes commits the ultimate sin in Andy Cohen's eyes. You can really do any number of crimes, even federal crimes. That's not going to stop Andy Cohen. But you cannot be silent on a reunion and then talk about it in your own podcast, which Wes does. He also participates in a whiteboard presentation breakdown of their relationship, where he again answers far more questions than he ever did from Andy Cohen. Honestly, Wes had to know that his time in Summer House was over the second that all of this went public. So much of Summer House, even though people fight, is dependent on them being able to live in a house together, actually have fun together on occasion. And that was just like never gonna happen if West and Amanda returned to the show as if nothing happened. So West is fired. Amanda is now saying that she was offered either a significant pay cut or the option to walk away completely. So Amanda has also left Summer House. What are they doing with their newfound free time? Well, Amanda and West in Italy were found spitting olives into each other's mouths. That's enough of the presentation. Chronologically, that's where we left off, but I'm sure some of you are still questioning why exactly the public has become so fascinated in this relationship between two not particularly exciting people who, for all intents and purposes, were single at the time that they got together. Beyond the obvious of human instinct to just enjoy some mess, it has also just created such a dramatic shift in how people perceive these people as characters we know on a reality TV show. It's made people see Kyle and Amanda's relationship as far more complicated than people did previously, that maybe Amanda was not always a perfect partner. No one in the audience thought that this marriage would last forever, but I don't think anybody could have anticipated just how much Ciara and West would play into the fallout. On such a minute scale, Ciara and West really did parallel Kyle and Amanda. West was a player, a liar, a coward, but Ciara didn't get to be the simple victim like Amanda did. As a Black woman in the Bravo sphere and the world, she was held to a different standard to look out for herself and not look like a fool obsessed with these mediocre white men. Denying West's friendship, she was mean, cold, holding a grudge. When Amanda summer after summer complained about cheating from years ago and openly shit-talked her own relationship, that was seen as empowered. I think a lot of people are stuck on the idea that West and Amanda had some years-long affair, which who knows, maybe they did, but I stand by that I don't think the official timeline makes things better. Ciara was Amanda's friend for 6 years, the one who consoled her, lifted her up, and encouraged her to find herself outside of this relationship. And Amanda was willing to throw that relationship away for a 6-week situationship where her and West supposedly hadn't even been physically intimate. From Ciara's perspective, it confirmed her fears that she was disposable, not just to the man that she cared about, but to her friend who didn't grovel for her forgiveness, who didn't seem to have any shame after the fact. Amanda was the victim of Kyle, so she acted out. She was a victim of West, who pursued her in a moment of weakness, and now she got to be the victim of Ciara and the internet. And to this day, Amanda and West have not watched most of season 10, so when Ciara and Kyle in the reunion are confronting them with things that they said and did, they have nothing to say. There's one moment during the reunion where Ciara says that maybe Amanda is perfect for West because Amanda is incapable of calling out her romantic partner. In that moment, Amanda doesn't respond. She softly cries and eventually leaves the stage, stalling production for over an hour. In that moment, Kyle whispers, "That was a little harsh." That is the fundamental difference between the treatment of Ciara and Amanda. Something Amanda assumed would be to her advantage when she started this whirlwind situationship. Season 10 certainly would have been viewed very differently had this affair not happened, and it's obvious Amanda felt that way from the way she speaks on that season. Her loud laughing when Kyle is being berated, her heroism for counseling Ciara and West. I think she assumed her victimhood would shield her from criticism and launch her into a prolific career on Dancing with the Stars. And that wasn't a far-off assumption. So much like the Vanderpump scandal, what makes this fascinating is the benefit of over a decade of footage to dissect. That's how Kyle can be both a victim and a villain in the story. For so many years, he was the bad guy of this relationship. This whole thing does not exonerate him. But it did show that there were ways in which Amanda also didn't show up as a partner. It also helps now that in spite of Kyle's terrible husband skills, he actually can be a good friend, good energy, even a good communicator. I've described all the drama over the past 10 years, but part of what made Summer House such a good show to me was its general lack of darkness and relatively mild drama. You really did get the sense that these were people who deeply cared about each other, and Kyle was very much the glue that held the group together. It was probably the mullet, let's be real. I mean, summer should be fun, and Kyle was at least committed to that, if nothing else. And hindsight also does show the extreme stress that Kyle was living with, the financial stress, the villain editing, and ultimately the feeling that Amanda didn't like him that much, which we can kind of see now may have been true. Amanda pushed for them to release their statement early January, seemingly for no reason. She wanted it so fast that Kyle did not have time to tell his friends and family prior to the statement going up. Then within weeks, Amanda was seeing someone who has so many of Kyle's flaws, just as younger, more passive, and more Midwestern. Not to mention that person being her own friend's ex. This is not to say that West has gotten off easy, but certainly less of a microscope has been on him. Some of that is straight up misogyny, that women are held to a higher standard generally than the men we already have low expectations of. I mean, Sierra said during the reunion that West was with Amanda to spite her. Who knows if he was so consciously calculated or not? I'm inclined to believe either, but his open bitterness towards someone he claimed to care about was evident throughout his seasons on the show. I think what also stung was his refusal to commit to Sierra for months, leaving her the second they hooked up, all to do the exact opposite, quite literally blow up his life and everyone else's around him for her quiet, white friend. It's also that feeling that for so many years people didn't know Amanda and are now looking at her as if she wasn't a person people watched for 10 years straight. It's interesting because if she had started dating literally anybody else less than 6 weeks after separating, she would not be the big bad that she is right now. I think people have always understood that years of worrying about Kyle cheating and his non-committal apologies brought out the worst in her, and it was for the best that they could both walk away in the end. I do think there is an instinct now to retroactively blame the entire failure of the marriage on Amanda, or act like Kyle was acting purely in reaction to Amanda, which to an extent he was. I think Amanda was also acting in reaction to him as well. And people often are just way too quick to equate reactive with justified. At the end of the day, neither of them were probably their best selves in this marriage or particularly great partners. So it really does seem like it's all for the best that they're no longer together. And regardless of people's perception through the show, at the end of this all, Sierra and Kyle are on their own, and I hope they're better for it. And West and Amanda, I hope they really enjoy spitting olives into each other's mouths. I think that's a beautiful thing that they can connect on. Just goes to show that there really is somebody for everybody. So I hope y'all enjoyed this little discussion of Summer House. Also, if you want to see more of me, I stream on Twitch a couple times a week. I also make a monthly bonus video over on Patreon for people to check out. And if you're not interested in any of that, that's cool. That's fine, I guess. However, you could, if you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.